Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about We Live in Time. It's the new movie that's streaming on Max. It stars Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. And listen, this one hit me hard. This isn't one of your typical dramas. This one sticks with you long after it's over. You know the type, you just sit there as the credits roll and you're just trying to process what you just watched. Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield are absolute powerhouses. And for being real here, they're best known for the superhero roles. We have Florence Pugh as Yelena, we have Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, but this is a performance from both of them that shows us that they were able to branch out. They break completely out of those molds and they deliver some of the most emotional, grounded performances I have ever seen on film. So what's the story about? Well, it follows this guy named Tobias. He's played by Andrew Garfield, and he's basically a guy who's hit rock bottom. He's trying to figure out who he is. He's basically trying to start over his life. And then he meets this girl named Alma, who's played by Florence Pugh. She's a talented chef who has a much more optimistic outlook on life than he does, and their relationship together is the entire core of the movie. And what's really cool about the movie is how they actually tell you the story. They tell you it out of order. They have the present day going, but you take frequent trips to the past to see how they got to where they are. And normally that would be really frustrating for me, but the filmmakers give you little visual clues to help you understand where you are in the timeline. There are changes to the hairstyle, the lighting, and even just the color palette that you actually see on the screen. For example, the scenes that are set in the past have a much warmer, brighter, happier tone, while the scenes in the present day, a lot colder, the colors are muted, you can tell the difference. And I just think that was a really smart way to show us where we are. Instead of just saying big old text on the screen 5 years earlier, 5 years later, I liked how they did this. And everything that the director John Crowley did felt methodical and intentional. He likes to focus on the little things, and I feel like that's something that a lot of filmmakers just want to skip right over. He likes to sit with the characters, what they're going through, what they're saying, and you just feel like you're right there with them in the room, very uncomfortable, but you feel everything. And that's what makes this relationship between Tobias and Albert feel so real and authentic. Florence Pugh's character is a chef, like I talked about earlier, but did you know that she actually learned to cook while she made this movie? There's a scene where she's cooking this really intricate dish, very detailed, and I guess that was actually her making it. Andrew Garfield actually elaborated on this in an interview where he said that in between the takes, she would be making meals for himself, for the crew members, for everybody. Imagine that, you're on the set of this movie and Florence Pugh is making you a meal. I mean, goals, right? And the chemistry between Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield is off the charts in this one, if you couldn't already tell by everything I've already said. There were moments in this movie where I just completely thought that they were actually dating outside of filming this movie because the chemistry was that good. Like when they argue, it just felt so real, it felt so raw, and it felt like I was intruding on a couple's argument. And then when they're happy, you're smiling and you don't even realize that you're smiling. It's a movie that brings you in to feel every emotion that they are feeling. Andrew Garfield just brings this energy to Tobias. He feels like this guy that's just going through a lot. He's hurt, he's tired, and he's just trying to rebuild himself, and that is not easy. You just feel his struggle in every single scene that he's in, and then when he meets Alma, she's the perfect counterbalance to help bring him back to happiness. And she's not just some perfect partner, she's complicated, she has her own flaws and challenges, but that's what makes her, him, this whole relationship, this whole movie so relatable. And that's exactly what makes this movie so special. It isn't this overly polished Hollywood happy ending love story. It's real, it's raw, and it just feels like something that could actually happen. So there's a scene where Tobias and Alma have this huge fight, and it's filled with little jabs and saying very hurtful things to each other that's been building up for a long time. It's uncomfortable to watch because it's so honest. We've all had interactions or we've been there in relationships where things just kind of start to unravel. It's very uncomfortable, and this movie displays it so well. And honestly, the biggest takeaway from this movie is that it's not just about a relationship, period. It's about identity, it's about second chances, and what it means to actually connect with someone. And it's also about how our past kind of shapes us. Everything that we go through in the past is for a reason, and it gets us to where we are today. And I think that's why it resonates so much with me. Even though it's fiction, stories like this happen all the time in real life. People meet, they fall in love, they go through the ups and downs, and sometimes things work out, and sometimes things are just out of our control. So yeah, We Live in Time is a roller coaster of emotions, but it is 100% worth the ride. Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield are absolutely phenomenal in this one. The story is raw, it's real, and the way that it's filmed makes it feel like you're living in these moments with them. So if you're a fan of emotional dramas or just want to see two of the best actors of our time at the top of their game, you need to watch this one. Just be prepared, because it is a lot, but sometimes that's the exact kind of movie that you need. And if you're looking for a little bit more of a lighthearted love story that's also streaming on Max, I have my review of Your Monster. You can check it out right here. But until the next video, everybody, see you later.